Hey, y'all. Hey, and hey. I won't just say hey for the whole show, but as far as the intro, that is my sentiment. So, hey, hello, hi, happy September. Happy fourth quarter of the year of 2021. Happy beginning of the last 4 months of 2021. Um, happy almost fall. I know a lot of people are anticipating the fall season. So come on autumn for the people that just cannot live without it. Um, I don't know if it's a happy, but it's more so like wishing or bringing forth awareness as what we love to do here on the B Mix. So happy suicide prevention. I believe it's Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, but Suicide Prevention Month. Happy to that. And in light of that, oh, hey, Moni, how beautiful. I love you. All right, I ain't gonna be in my feels, but I'm in my feels. Happy, y'all. So welcome back to another episode of the B Mix right here on BeExposedRadio.com. You already know what Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time are for, or rather who. I'm one of these days, I'm gonna get that right. I always say what, but who Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time are for everyone, the unseen, the unheard, the overlooked, the misguided, the forgotten. I was about to say the misforgotten. So the forgotten, whether it be the forgotten part of you or for the person that just does not belong anywhere, the me, be. So welcome. You know that here on the B Mix, we really encourage and work to provide and to create. I think we've done over the past year, now we're over a year now. Over the past year, I think that okay. All right. I'm slow. Okay. So bend it back. I need to bend it back. Okay. My producer is amazing because he deals with me and my slowness. Thank you. And I was looking right at it and I should have been able to figure that out. Anywho, but yeah, so, you know, here we really love to, what I was saying was I believe that we've done a pretty decent job over a year now of establishing and maintaining and now just working to sustain an environment, a safe havens of environment, a safe space where people feel you know, comfortable with opening up, because I know that even if folks, I mean, my idea, truly, ideally, I would love for one day for people really just to get to the point of like, hey, I'm gonna just say this in the comment. Hey, I'm gonna just text this into the show. I'm gonna just call into the show and say this with my name out loud. This is what I'm dealing with. This is who I am. This is what the questions that I have, you know, the things that I'm facing or what have you. And so I believe in order for us to take that to another level, that I now have to be even more open and vulnerable and transparent with my stuff. Truly, I've been carrying some stuff for a while. And so I think in order for us to continue on to do that, it's for me to really open up to y'all about like some stuff that I have really been carrying and dealing with. And it's really in the light of honestly to really to I don't know what word I'm trying to I don't want to say pay homage, but I guess for lack of any better word, to pay homage to the unfortunate amount of lives that have been lost. I don't care the fact that it was by way of suicide, meaning that technically someone took their own life, but that is a life that is lost on this side of glory, right? And so paying homage to, you know, the memorial of those people. We know just too many people, whether you know them personally or just hearing or just knowing that there's somebody out here, even just one is too many, someone out here that felt the need to end their life because of whatever they deemed was important enough to where they felt as though, and I mean, that ranges, right? Just from uh, men, women, different genders, different backgrounds, different ages. We're talking young children have ended their lives. And we know that we hear usually a lot of stories tied to bullying, but some of it really is just handling and dealing with life stuff. So before we get any further into my life stuff, and I know that I have this, the topic of our show tonight is Testimony Thursday, which I can guarantee is going to go into, might be for the month, I'm not sure, but I know for sure it's going to go into next week. Because, well, I'll say that after I share this actually. So y'all know that I really enjoy sharing having our moment of a history of racial injustice in America, given by my favorite calendar, by Equal Justice Initiative. And so I'll show the image for this month since it's a brand new month. I think y'all can see that. It's a little glare. Sorry about that. I don't know why I was about to do this like it was on the show's done. There we go. Okay, still a glare. Y'all probably saw my broke nail, and that's fine. I'm showing up just the way that I am. Monty, have you been able to tell that I have this yellow light over here? Does it bother you? Okay, sorry. I think about you anytime there's a yellow light now. I remember in the very beginning, you told me that you hate yellow lights. And so I always think of you. So I have now realized more yellow lights around my house than I thought I did. And I also hate yellow lights. So anyway, oh, I'm sorry. I actually want to read the caption to the image that I just showed you. That caption reads, in February 1945, Staff Sergeant Herbert Ellison explained the GI Bill of Rights to Robert T. Walton, Tonio Carter, Lawrence Keyes, Sam Anderson, James Milhouse, and James West in Italy. And that's this image is the word I was looking for. This image is by way of the Library of Congress. So the GI Bill of Rights. Might want to look that up and share that with us. I might do that probably during a commercial break or something. I don't know. First of all, let me go back and apologize because I do care to my folks that whether if it's your first time, especially if it is, if you're a returned viewer, or even anyone that will catch the replay of the show, that I apologize deeply for my tardiness. I'll get into why I was tardy, but I really, really, really do apologize for it. And I'm not going to use my story that I'm going to share with y'all as like an excuse because there's some good in it as to why I'm late. But we got to get the story first just for it to be a storyline that makes sense, right? Okay. So our moment of racial injustice in America is as follows. Thursday, September the 2nd, in 1885, white miners upset about competition for jobs killed 28 Chinese workers in Rock Springs, Wyoming, causing hundreds to flee and sparking anti-Chinese violence across the West. So, isn't it funny how, isn't it funny how we just witnessed this, I forget how they put it, but it was, just really standing up for, the Chinese Americans, right? I'm sorry. That is so wrong. Asian Americans, and I was going off of this because it said Chinese, so forgive me. But the Asian Americans and just speaking up for them and their rights and not for them to be, I know I'm not necessarily paraphrasing, but in a sense, because it's my own words, but speaking up for them and just about the violence that's been brought against them and their businesses. I can't even say their communities, but I don't believe so. Nothing rings a bell. And I'm not just thinking here in Baltimore, but across the nation, nothing's really, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, please, but nothing's striking in my mind where it's like their neighborhoods or anything like that where you would find them living, but just usually like they're against their businesses or them personally at their place, their establishment. And so it is pretty ironic though, as I know recently I've seen a few posts, just seen a few people talk about the mere fact that we've had to sit through is really some Biden bashing, truthfully, that I don't really plan to get into, because I have to really work through my feels about it. I will say I know that I wasn't horribly gung ho on the fact of, big Uncle Joe, coming into the office. Cause I mean, it's still the same thing of like the better of the, was it lesser of the two evils? I think is how that phrase goes. But truthfully, technically, it seemed, especially at the time, that anything's better than y'all boy Trump. So Donald. But yeah, but there's just I'm seeing quite a bit of Biden bashing, and it's been happening, but I think a higher volume of it going on as of recently. And that, they talked about the fact that, how's it feel? Like, hey, y'all were so gung-ho on getting him in office, and he made sure before he did anything for the Blacks that he, brought up this whole thing across the nation and, kind of taking it for Asian Americans, all that, which, just about anything said these days, it has some content, right? It has some context, has some some substance. And so it's just this moment here that I just read about the white miners upset about competition for jobs killed 28 Chinese workers in Rock Springs, Wyoming, causing hundreds to flee and sparking anti-Chinese violence across the West. And here it is that it's usually us that have seen it portrayed to be like, oh, it's them, it's the Blacks, it's the coloreds that are going to buy hair at the hair stores and they cussing the Chinese out or the Asians out, at the nail salons and this and that. It's the Blacks. But we didn't feel threatened about them taking jobs and made hundreds of them flee up and down a coast. Like, cut it out. Just saying. All right, that's my spiel there. And it really just makes me, as I'm transitioning into just what I'm going to share with y'all tonight, is that it really makes me, I don't even want to say meditate, but I guess like kind of harp on the systems that we, live in, that we are governed by, unfortunately. So it's the only way really to put it. And so the reason why I say and wanted to, my phone is really like bugging out. It keeps telling me that my AirPods are low, but where are they? It's weird. Anywho, but sorry, I did lose my train of thought. I should have stayed focused. Sorry, it's still me, even though I'm sharing my stuff. It's still Benia, the squirrel kind of girl, that just gets sidetracked easily. It's working on it. Anywho, but like I said, the systems that we are governed by, and that's like the only way to describe that. And that's what I was getting into, is that of why I even wanted to title or have the topic tonight of Testimony Thursday, where I want to say, even as I get into my stuff, that I want anyone to feel free. If you have anything to share that you will want to share, by all means, please feel free to do so. Be sure to like and to share the show. The B Mix, this particular episode, as well as feel free to call and or text into the show during the show, 443-642-9403. Again, 443-642-9403. Proud of myself that I said it the second time and I didn't look at it. It's not that I really remembered it. It kind of just flowed. Anyway, but I get to take credit for that. So, and I want to say this though, in case you feel like that you have been going through stuff, right? And that you are currently going through stuff, I want us here, this is your B tip of the week, really of the month, of this season. So that means I'll be saying this, I'll remember to say this quite a bit, because your B tip of the season, B tip of the week, B tip of the month is to practice showing up unfinished. That's literally what I'm sitting here before you today doing. I am unfinished. My story is not finished. My testimony is not fully written, like the better part or the best parts of it. And yet I still wanted to come before y'all and just to let y'all know like what I'm even dealing with and going through. It's kind of like an oral diary for me, right? An oral journal entry for me tonight. And so the fact that y'all know that, so I've been out of work really since May, technically April, but out of work since May. And I'm gonna insert this quite a few times because y'all know I'm a believer, and as that's just it, ain't gonna be no question about that. That I still literally do not regret anything. Like I don't regret being led and knowing, because the beauty in it and where my peace is being restored, even in the midst of this storm, is that I um I know that I only, took heed and abided by and obeyed what I was moved to do, and what I was, what I literally saw. So what I saw with my carnal eye, what I felt in my spirit, what brought me peace within my soul, and then just like kind of blossomed, from the inward out. And so but I've been been out of work since then. And so my former employer, one, I'm just learning as of recently, they have been making sure that I didn't even receive. So let me also say, which I shouldn't feel like I have to give this preface, but I'll share it anyway, because again, I'm just being transparent, and it's just naturally me to kind of interject certain pieces, right? Do give these parenthetical statements along the story, along the way. That it, of course, it's not like I'm the person that and not knocking or judging anyone, but just saying for me, for Benia, that I'm not the person that ever, even in the past, if I've ever needed to get like food stamps, right? That they try to, and I know I've mentioned this before, but that they will try to, say like, oh, apply for this. But this is definitely even before the pandemic, right? So before they got this, I'm sure, overwhelming amount of individuals applying for these different assistance programs and things like that. But I've never wanted to be the person like to get more than really what I needed. Like if I just needed help with food, then that's just all I wanted. If I needed help with at some point, I think, well, I don't know, at some point when I just insurance, right? Like, okay, so Medicare, Medicaid, something, or whatever, like that would be it. And they're like, oh no, go for TCA, go for this. It's like, like in TCA, for those of you that may not know, which is totally fine, it stands for temporary cash assistance. And so it's set to be a program to help individuals like to have some sort of income to come, and you have some obligations. So I used to work for a work program. So usually you would have to, I think regardless, you would have to sign into a program like that. It's called a work program. And either if you're already working, that's fine. It kind of helps your case. You kind of just check in. They give you, I think some work programs, they might give you like bus tokens or a bus pass or something like that. And kind of just keep that. And you're still, as long as you're under a certain amount that you, as far as your income, then you still receiving your TCA benefits type thing. And so, just different things. So I've never wanted, more than what it is that I needed, like I said. And so fast forward to, like I said, what I've recently learned is that my former employer has made sure that I didn't even receive like anything as far as like unemployment. Now, mind you, unemployment, as far as it seemed, I'll say this and I'll still go to that. So as far as it seemed like it was readily available, for anybody that was was misplaced, out of work during the pandemic, because we're still very well in it. The issue, and it was crazy because I know I just said this and talking to my producer right before the show went live, is that I know I mentioned that the unfortunate part is in so many different sectors and areas of life that too many people, especially the people that unfortunately hold any type of authority, that do any decision making for the masses, that they have normalized this pandemic, and it's not normal. There's a lot of trauma that I've been seeing this, y'all know that, that we all are experiencing and have been experiencing for over a year now, straight. So imagine those of us that are in therapy, about, issues that we've been dealing with in the past, like just in the past, like as far as our childhood. And so childhood, as years roll by as children, right? When did you really learn? That's a question. When did you really learn the value of time? That like not just like the significance of it, but even just the value of like how many hours are in a day, how many minutes are in an hour, how many seconds are within a minute, and just how to put that together, how long it usually should take to do this. A lot of us are in our 30s and just into our adulthood, still trying to figure that out, truthfully. And then on top of that, it's the concurrent, lesson along with that is figuring out then I said like the significance of the time, right? And so that's why when a lot of you talk about that time is of the essence, that time matters, excuse me, to you mostly, and that you don't like to waste your time. I totally get it. I hear you. And like I said many times before, and I'll continue to say that for me, mostly is that y'all see me swiping across my shirt. Remind me that it's because I'm looking at something, like a little speck on my screen. And it's not that it's actually something on my shirt. And then sometimes it is actually, okay, sidetracked again. But just that the overall idea is that, long story short, is that the people have normalized this trauma that we're currently experiencing. And so it sometimes makes it harder. Oh, that's okay, Desi. Hi, welcome. Actually just getting started. You're not that late. It's me. It's me. It's me. It's me, oh Lord, standing in the late line. Okay. And so, but yeah, so it's like, it's so much going on. And like I said, that everywhere you turn, that there are people that have normalized what we all experiencing, this trauma that we're experiencing. And then trauma, the thing is, trauma is personal. Like, it's personal. It's just customized. That's it. Remember that trauma is customized. And so even just like even like a garment, right? So there's a garment, you get a custom made garment, but that fabric, follow me, the fabric that's made, the fabric that is utilized and used for this customized piece still matches some other customized piece somewhere else. So you still very well may not be wearing the exact garment that someone is wearing. So you may have, we know this, like you could have a customized jacket that was made for you, but somewhere else, somebody has some pants in this exact same fabric. Now it could be across the world. It could be across the street, it could be across the ocean. It could be whatever, but the mere fact is that unless you made it yourself and whipped it up yourself, and most of us did not create our own trauma. Now, a lot of us contributed to our trauma in some way, shape, or fashion. I said that before. I know I definitely even mentioned it last week, that even if it's, I allowed it to happen a little longer, or just that, maybe once I started getting an inkling that this is something that's not right, maybe I didn't say anything, or I just didn't, kind of go with that vibe to kind of figure that out, right? So I may have elongated or delayed the process of getting to a resolve. And I'm not by any means victim blaming, victim shaming at all. But I think just as humans, that we make the mistake of sometimes contributing to our trauma. And a lot of times it's because we don't know it. And that's why I always speak up for the people that may have not so good, that we'll talk about or think about, like attributes or characteristics or overall personas that we just don't, that people just don't know. Sometimes people do not know that they're shitty people. They just don't know it sometimes. And that's why it's like, it's not on us to hold people, not necessarily not to hold them accountable, but not to hold them to it. Like, okay, once you realize, like, they don't even know that they acting like that. Okay, now if you feel that you have some way to inform them and get in there to let them know that they may actually receive that, then that's good. And I would try to do that. If not, then it's not your burden to bear. It's for you to, get out of a situation and get out of, get the lesson out of the blessing, or the blessing out of the lesson, or both, out of a situation that you are meant to get. And that's it, right? So, yes. Oh, okay, you don't have to wait, okay? All right, thank you. She didn't say please. Everything was all fine. So, back to the matter at hand is that, so long story short, I found out that my former employer, that they, like I said, made sure that I haven't received even unemployment. And I also have not, doesn't mean that I told y'all even this before, that I was smart. Even before when I saw that things were just getting ugly and nasty at work, I started to kind of dropping this application somewhere, submitting resumes. Truthfully, I really feel like it's because I've been led not to work for anybody else before. It doesn't mean that I haven't put forth any effort, though. That's the thing. I'm seeing it, kind of air out and work itself out the way it's supposed to, the way God has intended it, because my faith, while sometimes it has, grown weary, It happens. It's even mentioned in the Bible. It says, don't grow weary in well doing. So, in doing all things that I've been led to do. That's what brings me back to that. Spiritually, and just seeing things and knowing like, okay, this is not good. This is not conducive for my peace, my health, my whatever. And so, just making, decisions and moves, accordingly. I still, like I said, was smart about things, right? And so either way, that I've been without work, and also have not had any income this entire time. Is that not crazy? I kid y'all not. So things started like to pile on at some point throughout all of last month. Definitely, I think that was like the hardest. Maybe sometime in July. I think so. Like, yeah, because at some point I told you like this past month and a half. So let's say the past 2 months, July and August for sure. That, I was like, okay, like, things are, ugly. I pay rent, right? I told y'all that my landlord had passed away. And so, of course, his properties, had to be moved over to new management, which was his son-in-law that I had been in contact with. And just imagine, like, just think of just what that feels like. And if y'all have gotten to know me, especially for people that have caught the show, over a good amount of time, that you'd be able to pick up the fact, like, I'm not this person. I don't like to be the person that owes people. If you don't really know that, at least you should be able to pick up the fact that I don't like to feel like I'm getting over on nobody. Like, I'm the helper, I'm the doer. That's just what I do and who I am. There's one lock that's just okay. And so that doesn't feel good, right? And so in trying to just get everything together, long story short, is at the beginning of August. It was like the first week of August. I swear it was like the 4th, 6th, or 8th or something like that. They called, and long story short, told me that I needed to get out by the end of the month. They gave me 3 weeks to get out of a house that I had been in for 3 years. And so imagine, right? And so it's like, okay, I'm believing, I'm trusting, okay. So I am in this place where I am now, of course, is me figuring out that it's definitely the sign for me to let go of something that I probably was trying to hold on to. I guess if I was smart, I really would have picked up on the fact that I probably even got an inkling or just a thought of when it was like of even leaving my former employer, right? Leaving them behind once that had happened, then of just considering like, bro, I might lose this house or I might, this and that. And that right there, that's what I mean by sometimes we contribute to our own trauma, because if we get to a better place of thinking, so I'm getting there, I'm obviously not there yet. And that's why I said I'm showing up and kind of like practicing what I'm preaching, showing up as an example, right? Offering myself as a living example in real time of practicing showing up unfinished. Is that, I'm still obviously, like, I would hope that the next time around something, okay, yeah, it's a bathroom upstairs, but okay. She came down here, use the bathroom, it's the bathroom upstairs right next to her room. I digress. And so what happened? Oh, so the fact that, if I really had thought things through back then and not have been trying to hold on to something, I probably should have been letting go of. See, there are even things, I'm actually go to this thing that I screenshotted before. I have a couple of them. And so here's this one. When I read this, see what you think of when you hear this. If life can remove someone you never thought of losing, it can replace with someone you never dreamt of having. Now, when I recently read that, I literally just screenshot that like yesterday. That was by Rachel Wolchin. I think I pronounced that correctly. I read it as like, I think I truthfully, like, literally read it and removed something. This is the first time I'm actually seeing this as someone. So, I said, think of what you think of when you hear me read this. And so I really read it as something like more broad than just someone, right? A person. So of course, probably to the naked eye, people would think of like a relationship, situationship, whatever, maybe family, friend, or something like that. But truthfully, I thought of something. So really just see how you will hear and interpret things from where you are from. So, and just dealing with that, knowing that the 3 major issues that I have been challenges that I've been facing right now is issues regarding my home, right? My house, where my daughter would live, my daughter's schooling, and my car, right? So keep those 3 in mind. And so is like if I had been in a mindset to even consider the fact that again, if I rewrite this as if life can remove something you never thought of losing, it can replace with something you never dreamt of having, right? Whereas I feel like out of all of this, likely it'll mean that I'm out of this home, right? And in something else that I probably didn't see happening, right? Because I really did not, like, even right now. And if y'all remember when I was really deeper in it, and I'll say this now, I guess catch this. This is another B tip of the week. So that one before is your B tip of the season. Remember, I said B tip of the, at least for the month, but B tip of the season, which is practice showing up unfinished. This one is, and I'm continuing with the story, but the fact that when it felt worse, it felt worse, but I was, okay, what am I saying? It felt worse, right? It felt bad, but I was doing worse, right? Now the more fast forward to the fact that it, as in just my stuff, my situation, my circumstance, is technically at its worst, but I feel better about it, right? Isn't that crazy? Right? That's that peace that surpasses all understanding, baby. Like it's something about it, and you can't ever get me to think that everything is not spiritual. There's always a spiritual component to everything, right? And so that's what makes this sometimes pretty difficult. And so where I pray for just all of us to get to a place of where we can receive these things. And as I, get deeper into my story in the last like 30 minutes that we have the show, that each person is able to hear this rather than be like, oh, she died. Like, why was she not? She was moved to do this. What in the world, right? Like, but that's where we prejudge people. And that's just not the environment that I'm trying to create. And it's not just that it's me, but it's the fact that that's how I hear other people when they share their stuff. And so here's something else, and this is actually a quote from Meredith Grey. Hey, Mayor. I don't know why we all hang on to something we know we're better off letting go of. It's like we're scared to lose what we don't even really have. Some of us say we'd rather have something than absolutely nothing. But the truth is, to have it halfway is harder than not having it at all. So again, me reading that from my circumstance, right? Keep in mind. Okay. And so I'll get to that third because I know it was a third one that I had screenshot. But so it's just the fact of me learning, like, okay, I really do wish that I had have thought of this, back when, right? I remember I was at the park with my daughter and my baby sister. It's the better way to get y'all to follow who I'm talking about. And so they were playing, and I remember getting that call, and I'm like, boo, like that's what else am I supposed to say? I really had no fight in it, right? It was just the ask like to vacate, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess like I get it because I'd already owed them. I'd already owed my landlord that passed. And so here it is, this is rolled over to them. I get it. That's the thing, because I don't like to owe people. Like it does not feel good in any way, shape, or form. And so it was just like, okay, like I don't need to fight this either. Like I don't know what to do. And so fast forward to more recently of really trying to just make things happen. My job only has these 3 weeks, right? And so still being led to do other things. I announced to y'all last week that I'm really still happy and proud of the fact that I released my book. And so that see how it's like waves in it, like things get like there's valleys and peaks, man, peaks and valleys. And so literally released my first published book, like in the midst of this, I'm a published author. So literally in the exact same weekend that I, announced to the world that I'm now a published author and released my book about releasing. It's like I told you, it's a letter to everything that was sent to kill me. And so releasing just that, who would know? Who knew that the storyline is also like simultaneously in the same time, the exact same weekend, I faced an eviction, right? So not a pretty word, right? Not a pretty process or circumstance to be in. And so it bolts to that with the I'll just say the new landlord, like with speaking to him, it was just like, initially like early August, It was like, hey, yeah, I'll come in like the week before, and then we'll do the final walkthrough on the last day of the month, which was the 31st, right? So this past Tuesday. And so that was always the plan. Now, all this time, I hadn't heard anything. No, I hadn't heard anything. I hadn't gotten any letters. They said they would do a write up and send it so I could sign it, they could sign it, nothing. And so truthfully, I felt like, okay, maybe a little more humanity came in there. And am I, really wanting them to kind of be in the hole again, like another month or anything. No, not at all still. And especially because I'm considering their loss. Like I even felt bad when he was still living. Like I don't like to, it's just, I can't express that enough. I cannot stress that. And so, child, what happened? Oh, so, well, I'm losing my train of thought. Oh, so then, he talked about that he would, like I said, come in the week before, do that last walkthrough. And so I never got it. Like I said, never got anything. And so I literally, because I was like, oh, this is all for me. I will say that it was probably just a jab from the devil, not necessarily this whole scenario. Because remember, we have to be cautious of, we talked about this before, of being able to, praying about our discernment and to decipher between, who was sent or what was sent by the enemy, what was sent by our creator. Like, and so just the part of like, oh, I would hear from the landlord on the day of my book release, right? When I was at the book expo. That's the first time I heard from him since the beginning of the month, since 3 weeks prior. And so it's just like, hey, wanted to follow up on the email I sent. It's like, what? I want to be very clear. I didn't get any email. I do not want you to think that I was ignoring you. And so he wanted to, I asked him like to forward it to me. So I made sure I checked on my computer. I checked on my phone. Like I'm searching, like, I'm like, hey, what is even your email address? I didn't know the man's last name. Like everything that rolled over, but it's just, I ain't gonna say it's janky, because by all means, like I'm appreciative more than anything. And so yeah. So anyway, so that was that. And so I got the email. And so originally he'd emailed me on the 20th to try to come in like the weekend of the 23rd. And so that didn't happen, right? And so now here it is again, like the weekend of the 27th. So just this past weekend. And so we're talking, I think by this time it's like I don't know, it was early this week, probably I think like Sunday, Monday. And so had been trying all this time, like applying to different things, anything that I heard of or saw pop up, like I'd given up, but still was working through giving up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, as in giving up of like, I'm not about to fight these people to keep their property. Like, it's theirs. Like, I get it. Like, I mean, what else am I supposed to do? And so I come to the conclusion of, and then what I wanted texting him is like, hey, oh, I'm sorry. No, right. Because I was about to go out of order. So I texted him and said, hey, I just decided that I'm going to just leave everything up and trash all my stuff. Like my daughter and I are just going to go to a shelter. Like, that's it. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. And so they're upset about the fact that I wasn't leaving them an empty property. And so it just goes into, I wound up actually hearing from his wife, who was my late landlord's daughter. And so a mixture in there, like some nice, nasty, right? But I get it. Again, still that's the thing. Like I still get it, which I also get this, but just a point of reference is that I don't think there's any like true consideration of where I'm coming from. Literally explains to them that, hey, I had COVID. Technically, I was really forced to resign, but here, so I'm out of work. I had COVID. My daughter had COVID. I've been out of work since. Like, this is a real thing. So that's what I mean by like normalizing this whole traumatic experience that all of us are experiencing. Like, all of us are under this, and then it's customized for each of us. So it's for some people that have lost, one person, or somebody else has lost many people, someone that is like whatever throughout this whole pandemic. I had been working, I was doing fine. Like, and then it got to the point of where I'm not. I got the actual virus, and then my daughter had like the scare of that. And then just, I mean, so much. Like, I don't understand what is hard to get. And so it was just a mixture of that to me with my response of responding back. Then it kind of changed to like, oh, I'm praying for you. I don't think I questioned that you're going through a hardship. Like, okay, all right, thank you. And so it was just a mention of like that my father was so nice to you and patient with you. And so it didn't help, but I also just wasn't at the place, really didn't have the energy to like debate of like, I get where you're trying to go, but that's not fair. Like, I know y'all don't want to hear anything, and I don't have horrible things to say about my late landlord at all, truthfully, but just I think of with any a person that owns a property and someone in the property, that there's going to be something. And so while y'all might want to believe, like, it's just, oh, it was nice and patient with you. Yes. But please don't think that everything was like peachy cream. Like, I'm not daunting anybody, especially not deceased, but anybody's name unnecessarily. But I mean, it's simple things of the fact of like with rent, truthfully, we recently, and I mean, in this year, had gotten to the place, and not even at the beginning, but like a few months ago, had gotten to the place of like paying rent via Cash App, you know what I mean? Like electronic, like payments, whereas before it was always money order or cash without a receipt. Right. And so with the pickups, it would be like, well, hey, I would have it ready. And so fast forward to when I first moved in here, it was the police brutality situation. So he dealt with that. He dealt with the fact that it was just, I think that first month, like after I moved in, paid double and all, you do all that, the security deposit and first month's rent, yada, yada. And then it was just that next month, whatever was late because the police retaliation, child, get the book. Okay, I was about to say girl because I'm used to telling the story, but get the book, child. You'll be able to read in detail about the police brutality scenario. And so, yeah, and child, it was like, so that was that. And then I remember fast forward to when I helped pay for somebody's funeral. I remember him mentioning like, I was 2 weeks late, rather. I was 2 weeks late on paying rent. And he said, well, you deemed it necessary or deemed it more important to pay for somebody's funeral than pay for your rent. It's just like, wow, like who's in this pandemic, right? So I was like, yeah, sorry, I didn't plan it. I don't think they planned it either. Like, so that was that. And still paid him. Like, so even during the pandemic, like it's been paying. So the fact that, like I was saying, like the pickup part was that at a lot of the times I would have ready and it would say that or whatever, or it would just be ready. So after a while, I just left it like whenever I hear from him, then that's just when I'll tell him I have it. Here you go. Yes, come get it or whatever. But it turned into like you would just come pick it up and it wouldn't be on. It would do on the first shore. It wouldn't come and get it on the first. A lot of times, quite a few times, it was like at the end of the month, and so that kind of turned into like a habit. And then I guess he forgot that or whatever. And that sucks. But I know at some point, like he mentioned, like because you'd be late with the rent. It's like no, it kind of just went to that. And so for me to switch that, I guess, but no, and it was in the pandemic now. So me to kind of switch what has been kind of the precedent for over like a year now, no, but okay, sure. And then not that I was looking for credit, but it's like, in a sense, like, give me credit. Like, I'm still paying you in this pandemic. Like, not literally just once. So beside as of recently, right? And I'm not that I'm saying that negates like, oh, help me out or anything, but because that's what already has happened. I've been here for a couple months and without paying anything. So that's still God's grace. Because I mean, I forget how to pronounce it, mortuarium, the thing with evictions and all that could have been the case, early on. And so I get that they also just didn't want to go that route. Probably I'm sure the fees are involved in all that and just probably that is elongated process. And so neither did I. I don't even like the feeling of having eviction like on my name. Like I had to go through it once and that was like a while ago. And it was actually me that asked them to do that because it would have helped with it, literally that help that I needed. It helped with that. I think like social service or whatever. You actually needed an eviction notice. Hey, can y'all just file it? Okay, cool. It helped and everything was resolved. It was easy. But either way, still that's one. And then here it is now, it'll be another one. Oh my God. Like it just doesn't feel good. And so fast forward to the fact that, me trying to still explain, I don't think they know the whole story, but I also know they don't care either. Cause I get it. Not just saying them personally, but just anybody, they just wouldn't care. But it's literally been so much, y'all, like for real. like I said, just recently, I'm thinking all this time that I was waiting, to get unemployment, just finding out once I got through to them hearing this lady having me on hold for a while. She comes back like the third time, finally like, hey, I'm sorry I have you on hold so much. I'm just really trying to find out why you were denied. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that was. She was like, oh yeah, there's a letter I see here that they told you on May 7th that you were denied. I'm like, hey, here it is in August, almost the end of August. Like, no, I didn't know that. They didn't tell me that. I was like, actually, that's the date that I applied. Like, what in the world? So that was that. And so that's how I found out that, like I said, my employer has been making sure of that. So still literally fighting that right now. And so I love how unemployment thinks that the help is like, oh, get somebody, that could witness, what happened. for us, most of them still work there, but we'll see. I'm hopeful though, right? I have a call immediately after the show today to just see. And so then they have to retell the story over and over. So it was that. It was the fact that, mind you, months before everything started really hitting the fan, that I had everything set in place in stone for Sydney to attend this school that I know is like great for her. I didn't really want to ever have to compromise that. She needs the smaller classroom, the more attention that would come to it. It's a Christian-based curriculum. I know I grew up and I went to all of elementary school, went to Catholic school. But that's not really what I wanted. But the fact that it's Christian based and it's like a Black Christian school, so they push black, and Christian curriculum absolutely, and smaller classroom attention that she needs in order for her to really grow and to succeed and just be who it is that she's called to be. Like, this is perfect. And so all that was set in stone. At some point, I was going to pay her whole year off. Went to do that, and that's when I found that I was scammed out of almost $5,000. Thousands of dollars scammed. So that was that's under investigation. Like, it was like every time I would turn around, like it was like back to back, just losing. And here I am. So it was like, just even as of last week, trying to figure, like, okay, Lord, it doesn't mean that I'm not supposed, she's not supposed to go to this school. I'm listening to you. I'm supposed to get out of this house? That's fine. But where am I supposed to go? In the meantime, like, there are technically, a few different houses, sure, but every house I could think of, they're at capacity, like, you think, of course you make it work, but it's not ideal. And I know that none of this is ideal. And so it just sucks and it's very unfortunate. And so it's trying to figure it out. But really, the truth being, if I can be my truth, nowhere to go. Nowhere. Any household, like I said, I can think of that would even want to, and that would more than likely like make accommodation. But as far as that's just for me and Sydney, and like some stuff that's not our stuff, it's not our things. So that's back to why I told my landlord, and I'm like, I'll leave everything, I'll just trash it. Does that make me feel good? All the things that I've worked hard for to just go in the trash? And I guess it would help. Like, I'd rather just not see it. Y'all dump it and do away with it. I'll pack up her school stuff and that's it. Like, so they fought me on that. They were upset about that. So that's what made the wife reach out to me, like I said. And I just changed, her tune changed a little bit. Like I just mentioned, like, just imagine where I'm coming from. Like, the fact that I didn't think to end it all. Like, come on. Like, so then, like I said, it changed up a lot. Praying for you and all that, because my late landlord is a pastor and an apostle. And so they iterated and reiterated that they are, believers and all, which I appreciate, and would have, not necessarily with the saying that I would have thought that would help as in like to get over. It's not the case, but just a little more hard. But I told y'all in this season that I'm really learning, and God has really been showing me that I can depend or know, like, I am not to depend on anyone, but not even myself, but him. He's the only one that's making ways out of no way, like that we still have a roof over our head. So long story short is that there's been some burden lifted off of me a little bit. And mind you, again, I'm telling you all that this is mid testimony, right? So I'm showing up while the testimony is still being written. The good, because it's in my flesh, it's like, this ain't the good part, but okay. But the good is that as of the 31st, when I was talking to them, because I, like I said, spoke to the son-in-law and, and told him that. Then, like I said, I got the text message from the wife. And so that next day on that was the 30th. So then the 31st, I text them. Oh, that's what I'm sorry. When I talked to him on the 30th, he had told me, like, oh, there's this program. You can, look into them. It was a friend of ours, of mine, got help from it and all that. And so look into them, applied there. I'm like, okay, I do that. I happened to call them. Their system was down, and come to find out, once I found out, the least talking to the lady while the system was down, she did tell me of how to try to get it expedited. And so I, later on, finally get into their system because it was up. And once it was up, and, do the process to get it expedited. And come to find out, it's actually a program I had already applied for, that my application probably just sitting along with thousands of others. So it's like, don't y'all dare think these 3 weeks that I've done nothing. Now, did I prepare physically, like, for stuff to be moved? No, but I get that. Like, I didn't give it all my all, but it's also me pulling myself out of depression mode. Like, I haven't been very, but I know I've felt it in here. Like, bro, at some point, I just want you to lay in my bed But I still like over the weekend when I released my book, I had my nieces and nephews. Like I've had things and done things, not for them, for the landlords ones I have to care about or to worry about, but at least just for me, like still consider my mental, still showing up and being a mother, keeping a sense of normalcy for Sydney. Like I have to. Truthfully, I didn't know how it would feel. First of all, if I don't have the money to pay they'll show up and see like I don't have the money to get the grace cut. Who am I getting to move? These items out of the way, and because they were like, well, I would have thought to sell it on Facebook Marketplace or to take it to Goodwill. So you know what? Now that you're saying this on the 30th, it's just crossed my mind. It hadn't crossed my mind before because I was worried about so many other things. I did share with them, like, and I'm worried about it. My tags are expired. They were expired as the 30th. I just found out that I have to pay like something of not just for the tax, but like $300 to get to the point of then paying the $300 and like $60 for the admin fees, as two administrative fees, got it, and then pay to get the tax renewed. Like it is a lot. And then, like I said, just about Sydney school. So I applied. So then when I talk about the things that just been snatched from me, how about this? The child support that her father pays was intercepted by the state. The state said, because remember I said about applying. So as I finally caved in, I was like, well, I guess I'll apply for TCA. I just need a little something, right? Thinking, so I was like, I'll get this just, for unemployment, just in time, thinking I was waiting for unemployment to come. Child, apparently the TCA had this, or because of TCA, they intercepted the child support that I was receiving. So in a month and a half or in 2 months time, I've received like $50, I believe. Yeah, I think maybe once I was 30. I don't know. I can't even remember. Of child support, right? So like child support was snatched away from me. I finally get this letter as of recently that, it was one letter like, your TCA is gonna expire at the end of August because we see that your child support payments or more, that's more than, it's just child support. So trust me, it's not a whole lot. Carry on. That amount exceeds the amount that you're allowed to get in order to receive TCA. Okay. So that's going to end. Then I get this other letter that didn't make sense until I called in. And then this guy explained to me like, oh yeah, that's the fact that the state intercepted and took your child support because you were getting TCA, but they didn't want to give you TCA. And then so after your TCA ends at the end of August, then 3 months after that, then they'll start to give you your child support back. Like, bruh. Okay, so when I say, like I said, it felt like it was within a week's time, maybe 2 weeks, but it almost felt like those different things that I've said that I was like losing out on day after day. Like it was like, okay, I can't keep getting denials. I can't keep getting no's. I can't keep getting, I lost this. I can't keep checking for this and seeing where this went. Like I can't keep losing out. I can't keep doing that. And so I still kept like yielding, like, God, I'm still going to do what it is that you need me to do. Like still, like, will you in the midst of the storm, literally what we're talking about, like what you hear about in church, what you read about in the Bible, like it's applying it to real life. Like, will you still work your purpose work or your assignments, your divine obligations? Will you still do that when you're led to do that, even in the midst of the storm, when everything is against you? Like, I feel like everything's against me, but yet still. And so here came my book. And I know that's something that's, really a blessing to other people. The fact of just hearing that, oh my gosh, experiences that I had, and I'll get more into those probably next week because I'm running out of time, but experiences that I had during that book release, the Black Authors Book Expo, was really amazing for me. I know like some other authors, I don't know if they had the same experiences I did, but I mean, man, like powerful. This even hearing from some folks that, started reading my book and just questions or thoughts that they've had, like just, I mean, I ain't gonna lie, and I swear it's not being biased. Like it's kind of powerful because it really talks about some heavy, major stuff. So me just sharing this with y'all for this past hour, gives you a glimpse of how like when things happen in my life, that things can get heavy, like things can be hard, and I still make it through because what really helped me is when I was speaking to a very dear friend of mine. So this has forced me then to open my mouth more and speak to people, but also at some point, and that's why I said it's a difficult thing when it's spiritual, not difficult, but more challenging. But the reward, of course, is much greater and much sweeter, even now on this side of Zion and the next, right? because then I was, it was just confirmed. I don't know, the words just hit different to hear them this time of like, I really would not have known you were going through all of this. You wear it so well. And so that's where, when you read those posts, when people like, oh, remember, like these reminders, which are true, of, just because they wear it well doesn't mean that they want to or that they have to, so to be kind. You never know what people are going through, like all of those things, where my platform, my personal platform comes from, because people would never know. And I mean, the people closest to me would never know all that I'm dealing with. The only glimpse I really had of that was when my last boyfriend, a couple of years ago, we were living together, and there's things would go wrong. And I didn't realize that I was losing out because I was with him, and God was trying to show me otherwise. But okay. Thank you, Jesus. Right. But like he was able to see only because he was living in house, like, just to see and bear witness, so it just is what it is. But I'm really here to be a living testament, right? So my testimony is part one of my, more current, or I should guess is a present testimony of just how, of like what I've been dealing with. And even having, like I said, when unemployment mentioned, like to have someone, I had to reach out to folks that, I used to work with, and I have to give them a glimpse of what I'm dealing with. Like in one, I had somebody that I had been, sharing, not necessarily like fluffing, but sharing like just the freedom that I feel, which I still feel it. And so and a part of me feels like I need to go back to make sure I do like damage control. So because I hope that I'm not discouraging anyone. Like if God is stirring up something in you, if the Spirit is leading you to do something, all you can do is seek him to find out exactly how to do it, when to do it, whatever it is that he's calling you to do, or to let go of, to release, or to embrace, to embark on, whatever the case may be. Because while I may be sharing, the hardships of it, I know of what's coming, like is about to be ridiculous. It's already good now, because it, like I said before, and I forget exactly how I put it. I kind of put it a slick little way, so I messed it all up when I tried to repeat it earlier. But the fact that it's worse now, but I feel better than when I felt worse when it was better. You get what I'm saying? Like a little while ago, like I said, it was dark and it was heavy and all. That's when I felt worse, but it was actually better. I wasn't facing it. So now it's like worse, truthfully, on the surface, but I feel better about it. It's my restored joy, my restored peace, and still just making through, like still coming before y'all like every week. You know what I mean? Like that's doing something for me, but just the fact that there's still something that brings me to this. What I have wanted to thought, it probably slightly crossed my mind a little earlier to say like, you know what, I ain't about to I do that show, but I didn't. Like I easily dismissed it. I realized that even seeing having a conversation with my brother's mom earlier, shout out to T Mac, man. I know I feel much better just today alone for the fact that she held me and prayed for me. Like it is something about, if you say that you pray for people and pray with people, that is beautiful. That is beautiful. Let me tell you something. It makes a difference. If you are ever felt and led to pray with somebody, like physically touch them, and I get that it's COVID. I get it. So I'm not pushing you to do it. And I get that. And I get that it's COVID. So just the mere fact that I really miss, like it's just in church, if it's like physical altar call going up, hands on, but I understand, back to what I've been saying before, that this is really the season for the true believers, that you have to wrap yourself, and pray to be wrapped over and over and over again with the presence of the Lord, so that way you feel, that his presence is the void, fills that void of physical touch of somebody, holding your hand, and you going for altar call or something like, and I'm using that as an example because that's something that I definitely miss of going, when going to church. Like I miss that. Like right now, me going through heavy stuff, I would have been up at the altar, and yet I've been getting my deliverance in my own seat, socially distanced, you know what I mean? Like I've been receiving that, and my spirit is still being fed because I am seeking after him. Like, so I am, all of that, all things considered, I am fine. That's the thing. Like I am all right. And that is really because of the goodness of God. Like it is not going to make sense to somebody that doesn't believe. It's not going to make sense. And the crazy part is, on the flip side, it doesn't make sense to me that there's people out here in the world that life without God. There is no life without him. Moreover, that try to life without Jesus. Listen, the only way really to get to God that we learn is through Christ Jesus. And if you ain't, baby, listen, y'all see him on my shirt? Listen, it's my main man, JC, okay? I like to call him Jesus Lamar Christ because I would like to believe he has a middle name, and I think it's Lamar. So, y'all welcome in on that one. But yeah, like it's going through. It's going. I'm going through, but actually doing just that. I mean, I still showed up this morning and prayed on the prayer line. Like I'm still showing up for assignments and things like that because I'm proud of my progress spiritually and human both ways, right? So my flesh and my spirit like has really matured because I don't see where like there I told you I was this drama about like Sydney's camp that she was with, right? And so her dance instructor and all of that. And so something like that, like seeing this person that really got over on people and just I don't know, just seemed shady. Like you don't want to believe she is, but oh Lord. That like living on like she's about to get married, which I'm happy for, right? But I think the opening would have been like, oh my goodness, people out here living their lives, they're being blessed and all that, and they're shading people or getting over on people and this and that. Here I am trying to do good, and here I am going through this, and that has not crossed my mind once. It's not until I was just in the conversation earlier where like it dawned on like God brought that to me like, look, be proud of yourself, like that's it. And so even like I know I started receiving words of like one of yield to his plan. And then it was also like, it might be a test of time where, you endure some embarrassment. So that even speaks to my progress and my growth because I know I used to always say the number one thing I couldn't deal with was embarrassment. I did not want to deal with that whatsoever. But here I am. And I don't even take it as embarrassment. Like I had to reach out to these, former colleagues. Both of them basically told me in a way. One I definitely thought would have because I hadn't thought of her initially, but then the other one was just like, "Oh, I'll write you a positive reference, but I don't really want to write an anonymous note. It's fine." Okay. And it's because I want to share y'all. I told y'all this thing. I used to want to protect my name in situations. Now I just want to protect my peace. I'll let whoever think whatever. That means something different to me than I think however I've ever read that before because I would look at it like, y'all know me. I don't mind, explaining myself, right? And so, and the goodness of it all is that I'm grateful that because I was late, the reason why I was late today is because I was coming from an event at Sydney School that she's still about to start. So my baby is about to start big girl school next week. Remember when I said I was really, really, really worried about that and just trying to figure that out. So making it through, man. So just know, like I said, continue to practice showing up unfinished. I used to be the person that didn't want you to see me. If I was getting dressed, I don't care if I'm late night. I don't want you to see me until I'm dressed. Now, I mean, I got my robe on and still got my rollers in my hair. Like, it is what it is. You're going to get this halfway testimony. I'm going to tell y'all about the Maceo, the middle part of it, right? I'm not just going to tell you about the beginning and the end. I'm going to tell you about the beginning, the middle, and the end. There's somewhere in between as well. That's what we're supposed to do. That's the way for me to encourage you to keep pressing on because you will see light after this. It was raining, the sun is shining, baby. The sun is coming out. And you have to embrace that part as well, not just once the sun is at its full peak. Okay? You got it? All right, I hope you do. Remember, B tip of the season is practice showing up unfinished. So that way the reward is so much greater when you are finished. Until next time, peace.